Hegel. Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with me, your host, YemmytheFerret. This is the podcast about video game news, occurrences, first impressions, reviews, etc. Obviously there's more in there, but I don't care to elaborate, because you'll just listen to the episode, or the episodes, and figure it out. I might as well rebrand this podcast to the Spider 64 podcast, because I'm probably going to be going over a big chunk of Spider-Man at the beginning here. So just call me Spider the Ferret. The best name ever. But yeah, I'm going to start this episode with the Spider-Man. I don't think it's going to be an hour, but the Spider-Man hour, we'll just call it that. And I will be reporting to you live from the Daily Bugle. Let's go ahead and get into the first part of the episode, which is how's Spider-Man 2? Alright, so Spider-Man 2 picks up pretty much, it's a couple, a year or so after the original game, or maybe it's like a couple months after Miles Morales, whichever one you want to go for. And it picks up in a... well, I guess I should start off by saying I'm not going to spoil anything that's not past the first hour or so of gameplay. Maybe I'll talk a little bit specifically about some side content, but other than that, I'm not going to be going into too much detail, since the game is so fresh and so new, and there's so many people who want to experience it and not get spoiled for the experience. So if you want to go in completely blind, of course I'm going to chapter this section apart from what I've been playing this past week. So if you want to skip ahead, I'm not going to blame you. Just go ahead and seek it with these. If you're in Spotify, you should be able to seek past it to the next section. Or if you're on YouTube, the chapters should be working. I usually have them either in the description or they'll chapter out on the YouTube video. So, once again, well, maybe not once again, but to start it off, I am very much enjoying the game so far. There really has been no complaints with the game, other than I have run into a couple of glitches that have caused me to have to reload checkpoint. But that was really it was really only two so far. Unlike Jedi Survivor, which was like a constant nagging with glitches and stuff. This has definitely been more of okay, all right, it's a one, I gotta restart checkpoint, and luckily Spider-Man 2, I guess I'll just call it Spider-Man from now on, but luckily the sequel here is it's pretty good with the quick saves. It's saving constantly in the background, so even if you do have to restart checkpoint, it's not too much time lost. All right, so to start it off, Spider-Man 2. It doesn't give you every single ability that the original game had, but most of the movement abilities are there from the get-go. You still have to unlock a few things that I find kind of weird that were in the original game. I'm not going to go into specifics, but it's one of those things that's okay, well, at least they give you the web zip right away. At least they give you swinging right away. They give you the point launch pretty much right away, so it's one of those things that's okay, the movement from the beginning feels very similar to the other Spider-Man games, and they definitely keep the style of both characters separate. So Miles, he definitely looks and feels more like Miles when you're playing it. Peter, same thing over there. When you're playing as Peter, it's more of the original game Spider-Man kind of movement and stuff like that. So even though it's subtle differences, it's mostly in the animation. It's still cool to have two different Spider-Men working together in the city and having those different animation styles and stuff like that will differentiate them. And of course, you can switch between them anytime you want in the phone app, or the story calls for it, you'll switch over to the other character. And each one, they can do some missions together, but they also have other side mission and side content that is only themselves, that no one else, that the other Spider-Man can't do. which is fine. And the cool thing is that sometimes when you're fighting like you get those police reports still. Obviously, you don't have to do them in this game. There's no requirement to get all of them done. They just kind of give you more XP and stuff like that. But if you go to one, sometimes the other Spider-Man will be there to help you. And after you're done beating up the goons, they'll do a little. You can have them do a little gesture to each other or something like that before they leave, and that's pretty cool. I really like that. It gives the game some charm and some personality there that isn't in something like Batman Arkham City, where you're switching between Catwoman and Batman. It's kind of like just a quick exchange, and it's the same every single time. And in Spider-Man, there's several different gestures they can do when they part ways and go their other ways. It's nice, too, because if you equip a costume or a suit for Peter, you can also equip a suit for Miles, and he'll show up in the suit, and you'll be able to see it for a little bit before he gets off and does his own thing, which is fun because, it's just something that's like, okay, I earned this suit or I bought this suit, and I like to see it a little bit, before I swap out to another one. I'm swapping out pretty much every story mission I do, honestly, or every time I remember to go and buy a suit. Which does work a little bit differently in this game. Instead of using, I forget what it was. It's like city tokens and stuff like that to unlock suits. Now there's, these materials that you collect, which I know right away you go, whoa, materials? Oh, crafting components? What the fuck? That's how I felt right at the get-go when they introduced that stuff. But quickly it's like, oh, they give you more than enough to upgrade just by playing through the game and doing some side content and stuff like that. And there are chests that you can open up littered throughout New York that have regular parts and rare parts that you'll need, and they are plentiful. I believe they spawn randomly in the area that you're in, so I don't think there's a finite amount. There could be, but I don't think so because I've found so many of them so far, and I feel like I'm constantly finding more, so... The scramble to get parts really isn't a scramble because usually after you do a side mission or a side content or just open one chest of either rare or regular components, you'll have enough parts to move on to the next thing. So that is the nice part. Of course. At the beginning, I wasn't super jazzed about it, but it is nice eventually down the road when you get used to it. We're going, okay, I just need to find another box and I can get this outfit. And the other cool thing is that every outfit that you unlock, you have the ability to unlock 3 variants of it as well if you upgrade it again, or whatever it's called. I call it upgrading again, but yeah, essentially it unlocks 4 total variants of the outfit. Some of them don't have variants, which are the ones that are based off of properties. But most of them have several color variants that look pretty cool. I've pretty much constantly been switching around colors and suits and stuff like that throughout my entire playthrough so far. I haven't stuck to one suit. I might stick to one suit now for a little bit just because some story stuff happened, and yeah, I'm not going to get into it, but it's one of those things that's I love. Even in the original game, I was always constantly switching out suits and stuff like that. Or in Miles Morales, I was also switching around suits when I was playing that one. So it's bringing it brings you back to that love for just appearing differently in each outfit. And there's some really cool suits. I don't know how far I want to actually go into this, but there are some suits that have special animation types, special things attached to it. I don't want to get too far into it, but yeah, there's some cool stuff in there. They definitely amped up the maybe not, yeah, the amount of suits obviously is a lot because of the color variants, but also the coolness of the suits are also really high up there now too, because yeah, they did a lot of work with them and making some of the suits super unique and have special things attached to them. So if you recall from the original game and Miles Morales, each suit kind of had its own special ability attached to it, and you could swap them out for extra health or extra boost when you're fighting and stuff like that. That is completely gone now. In replacement of that, which I had to get a little bit used to, of course, because it's something completely different that's not in the other 2 Spider-Man games. Now, if you hold down L1 and you press one of the face buttons, either square, triangle, cross, or O, you'll do a special ability. Of course, you have to recharge those, which is way different from the original game. And also, they've replaced the wheel of special items to being holding down R1 and using the face buttons to do different gadgets. I might have flip-flopped those around a little bit. I apologize about that. But in the end, the information is there. So instead of having that wheel of gadgets with some overpowered ones like there's that one that like sticks people to a wall instantly, the spider web bomb was also like super overpowered. They've definitely held back on like the insanely good ones. Even though the the gadgets are still useful, they don't instant KO enemies anymore, and neither do your abilities either. A lot of them they do tons of damage, or maybe they'll take out a guy or two if they're low enough in health. But yeah, the abilities are there to help you out and to negate the amount of enemies on the screen, rather than them being there to, you know. Do other things, I guess you could say. And of course, takedowns are back. You have like a little meter for takedown or healing, just like the other games. So not much has changed there. But you definitely seem to get the because it's not really based on combo anymore. It's based on building up that meter. So even though a higher combo is going to fill it faster, it's still one of those things that's like, okay, you have to like really think about which enemy you want to take down with the instant takedown, instead of being able to do like 3 in a row at the end of it all in the original Spider-Man game. And yeah, on the surface, initially it does like make me go, oh man, I don't have my wheel of gadgets. But in the end, once again, getting used to it is a big thing, and I've gotten used to it, and I mostly use my special abilities more so than the gadgets. But I'm planning on. I mean, I definitely want to use more gadgets as I go on. Of course, it's an integral part of the Spider-Man experience. And now you have like of course the spider drone is back, and there's like these little collectibles across the map, kind of like how the backpacks are in the first game, where you collect the little spider bots, and they have like these cool little skins attached to them. Like one of them that I picked up was based on Rhino, and it was like the cutest little Rhino spider. It was really cute. Another one was like one from it was like Spider Ham, the pig character from Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, it was really cute. It had like a little snout and stuff like that. So these little drones are kind of the new backpack collectibles that you go around and collect, and I mean, yeah, they're really just really fun to look at. I love the way that the spider drones look. They get more and more interesting as you collect more and more. And then also the camera stuff is back too. Instead of taking tons and tons of pictures of landmarks, there are specific points in New York that you take pictures of like people doing things. Because this game is actually pretty big on the people of New York, not just like the locations and Spider-Man himself. Like it definitely focuses on like New York as a city as a whole, with Spider-Man being there and being an integral part of the experience. So that's the thing that I really like about this game, is it shows multiple sides of Spider-Man instead of just kind of being like it's more so like Miles Morales when he was doing the missions for the bodega, or he was doing side content for the different students around the school. It shows that Spider-Man isn't just like, I'm beating up the big bad guys like like Scorpion and Venom and whoever. No, it also shows like, yeah, he's still the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and there's plenty of missions that show that, especially. There's one later on that really hit me in the feels. Like I was literally streaming. I mean, I guess not streaming, but I had a couple tears stream down my face. Like this game is definitely is an emotional gut punch sometimes. There's several points in the game where not only just main missions but side missions also can hit you hard. So prepare yourself, I guess, especially if you enjoy characters from the first and Miles Morales, because some things happen. Let's start off. Let's talk about, not start off. I mean, we're pretty far into this now. Let's talk about the initial mission in the game. What starts up this game, gets you going. Because in the original Spider-Man game, it was taking down Wilson Fisk, and that whole sequence of events where you take him down and and you have the big fight with him. In Miles Morales, it was what was it? Taking down Rhino, right? You take down Rhino and put him in prison. You charge him through the mall or something like that and save a baby. And then this in Spider-Man 2, as it was spoiled in the trailer before the launch of the game. Sandman. You fight Sandman. He's in this like giant Sandman form. The city is like covered in sand, and his little minions pop up, kind of like Clayface in Arkham City. And it's a really, really good introduction to the game. Like it immediately just kind of captures you. It's one of those things. It's like, yeah, I'm in it. As soon as you start the game, it's like I'm sold. It's a pretty decent fight between this, both the Spider-Man and Sandman, and of course, pretty much, I would say, right now, probably about 75% of the missions you do at the beginning of the game give you side content as well. So it's also a good starting point of like, okay, so now we have this thing that we need to do to help out Sandman. And then later on you get more and more stuff to do as you go through the main missions. And yeah, that opening mission is like, it's just so cool. Like you're switching between the two characters and battling Sandman, trying to get him wet with water to take him down, and then going inside of a building with Miles and fighting his little sand men that he brings up from to fight you. And it's just one of those missions that is just designed so beautifully. I think back to the first game and that mission where you are chasing the helicopter with the crate attached to it, and Martin Lee's escaping, and you are webbing up things like the crane falling down and the chopper itself. Like, that's one of those classic Spider-Man missions. It's like, yeah, that's like a huge, cool sequence. And Spider-Man 2 has had several sequences where I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That's like a staple of the game. That's a staple of the game. That's a staple of the game. Like, over and over and over again. And I don't want to get into it too much because obviously people, they want to get into the game blind. If they're listening to this, they don't want to hear me talk about spoiler stuff yet because they haven't played it yet. But there is a mission pretty early on that I was really enjoying. It was really utilizing the SSD of the PlayStation, kind of like Ratchet and Clank did. And that was a visually impressive mission while also being super fun to navigate through. And I saw in an update by PlayStation or Insomniac that said that Mission Replay and New Game Plus was coming in a patch that was coming post-launch, which shouldn't be too far off at this point, they said. So it'll be cool to replay some of these missions, not only in New Game Plus eventually when it comes down the road, but also just kind of replaying them in general because unlike Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales, I really want to replay some of these missions. Like, there are some missions that have been just incredibly fun. Either a good boss fight in there or a really fun section or segment. And yeah, it's one of those things that's like, yo, this is amazing. I love this a lot. So it's one of those things that's like, yeah, I mean, I want to talk about it more, but I know I really can't. There's really not much more I can talk about without going into more spoilers or farther into the game other than a few hours. So next week I will be talking about it a lot more. I probably will have it done by next week, honestly. So, I'll probably have it done before next week, honestly. I've been playing it so much. I've been neglecting other things. Like recording this podcast episode, I have to do it in 2 segments because I've been playing so much Spider-Man in the morning and yesterday and the day before that, and I haven't gotten around to watching the movie I need to watch for my other podcast. So it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, it's definitely taken over my life. I'm really enjoying the game so far. Other than a couple of, 2 game-breaking glitches where I had to restart the game. It hasn't done that since, which is a good sign. I haven't had any crashes at least, so that's another good thing. And really the frame rate's been really stable. The game has been optimized pretty well. Lighting effects are really good. The character animations are really good. I'm still not like super 100% into the new look of Peter from the remaster of Spider-Man. But yeah, it's fine. Like, I don't know. I guess I still care, but I'm not like gonna fight for it because I know nothing's gonna change. So I'll just keep the older version of Peter in my mind. And I really do feel like that older, looking Peter works with the games better because even in Spider-Man 2, he's trying to be like a substitute teacher at the beginning of the game, and he looks almost exactly like the age of the other characters in the room, which are supposed to be college students, and he's like, I don't know, like 26 or something like that, or how he's supposed to be. And I feel like the older looking Peter would look better in that situation, because of the fact that, he looked like a person who was trying to be a substitute teacher, And I also say that about the first game, where it's like, yeah, he's already fought Scorpion and Rhino and Vulture and Electro, and he should look older. He should be like an older looking person, because he's done years and years of fighting in New York City. So it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, I do still like that older version of Peter better, but at this point, I don't really care, because, we're 3 games deep with the new face, and it's just not worth wasting any more breath about it, essentially. So yeah, that's that. But yeah, what else was I gonna say? Oh, there's also a lot of really interesting missions where you kind of go back in time to Peter's young age. And I really like that. Like, I wouldn't mind having an entire game based on, like, the origins of Spider-Man, because we really hadn't had one of those, I don't know, ever at this point. So it's cool to go back in time, like, as when he was learning his new powers and stuff like that, to see how that is. And I really enjoyed, I really do enjoy those sections of the game so far. There's a couple of missions early on that kind of bounce back and forth. Oh, one of the other things that I forgot to mention is a lot of characters from the other games do return, not only for emotional gut punches, like I said, but also for, character, I don't know if they're cameos, but like, Miles' mom is back. She has a pretty significant role, of course. Genki's back. Miles' kind of girlfriend, kind of not girlfriend, is back. There's a lot of characters that you meet in the other games who have maybe smaller roles, that have bigger roles in this one, who are there more often than they were. And I guess that's all I'll say about that, I suppose. So yeah, it's been a really good experience so far, and I try not to dogpile on certain things, but when I see the IGN review is an 8 out of 10. And I'm already like I'm on like 10 or so plus hours into this game. And I think to myself, like, besides from those 2 glitches that I had, what was really worth like 8 out of, like, what would really make this game an 8 out of 10? It doesn't make any sense. And they significantly talk about the open world, talking about how there's like nothing to do. And I'm like, did you play the game? Like, the side content and the side missions and the main missions mesh so well together. It's so easy to just switch between the 2 Spider-Men if you need to do a specific mission for someone. Like, the open world is designed so well and so free-flowing. And one of the things I was concerned about going into this game was, is the wingsuit going to completely negate the swinging and stuff like that? No, it's integral. It's a part of the whole experience. You can swing and you can fly and you can zip and you can point launch and et cetera, and it all just flows together so well. And with New York being twice the size it was before, there's even more of a need for like these little wind tunnels to use the wingsuit in that makes you get across the city a little bit faster. Swinging around, you can of course upgrade to be faster, but initially the initial speed is pretty good to swing around and get to places that you need to. And even though New York City is a big map, there's a big river right in the middle of the place that you need to go to. It never feels like it takes more than a minute to get to where you want to go, because of how fun and fluid the swinging is. And when people or maybe one person complains that the map is, I don't remember exactly what they said, because I try not to read reviews before going into things. But when I see an 8 out of 10 and I see a little blurb talking about what was up with the game, it just doesn't make any sense, especially because in the little blurb it's like, Spider-Man 2 is miles better than the other 2 Spider-Man games, even though it's whatever. And I'm like, you gave the other games a 9 out of 10 and you're giving this one an 8 out of 10? Even your own logic doesn't make any sense here. But once again, I'm trying not to go into that stuff. Also, people were really worried about the fall damage in the game. I did not turn it off, and I haven't died once, or even, I really haven't gotten injured, other than the one time I tested it out, if I could get a game over from falling from a great height. And no, it hasn't affected the game at all. So people's worries about that, put those to the rest. The fall damage is inconsequential in the game. Even though you'll take a little bit of damage if you fall from a high enough height, it's easy enough to slow down your descension, or zip at the last second to negate any fall damage you would have gotten. And even if you do take fall damage, it's negligible at best. Especially, I jumped off the highest building on the map, and I splatted on the ground. I got a trophy for it. And I only took like half damage to my health bar. So it's like, okay, it didn't even, and most of the time when I feel like I should take some damage, I don't, or I take some minuscule damage. And it's one of those things that's like, okay, it's just one of those things that it was a hot topic, and people pointed at it being like, oh, this is why the game's going to suck, because there's fall damage. It's like, okay, yeah, take a chill pill, man. Maybe I should take a chill pill, because I've gone off track. But in the end, if you're debating getting the game right away or waiting, it's definitely worth getting now, especially because now that the game is out to the masses, people are going to be talking about the game, exploring the game, dissecting the game, the story, the side content, the map itself, which is beautifully rendered and detailed. So it's probably best to get on it now and play it now before spoilers come out the wazoo. I guarantee I'm going to personally be spoiling stuff next week. So if you want to get to that point where you're not going to be spoiled, it's probably going to be a good idea to boot up the game and start playing it. And like I said, Spider-Man 2 has been my addiction for the past couple days. Every chance I get, I boot it up, even if I just got done streaming Days Gone, and I was streaming for like 4 or 5 hours. I took a quick break for lunch, and then I booted up Spider-Man and started playing it. And the same thing happens when I got home from whatever I was doing. Just booted up Spider-Man. Woke up this morning, took the dog out, had some breakfast, booted up Spider-Man. Like, it's one of those things that it's really just been an addiction for me. And the first game when I originally played it was exactly like this too, where I just streamlined the game. And it's not like I'm going specifically for the story. There's already tons of videos out there of like full gameplay, full playthrough, and they're not doing any of the side content. So it's like, whatever. But I understand they gotta grind. They gotta do what they can to make some money. I understand it. I'm not mad about it. But yeah, the side content is really just integral to the entire experience. And if you're saving all the side content for after the story, it's gonna feel more of like a grind, because you're doing things over and over and over again. Especially in like the early game, or the first game, when the crimes actually meant something, to do something. Like, they still mean something now, don't get me wrong, I already talked about that, but they were really like, you really had to do every single crime that popped up in the original game, because they were counted, and they were worth the points towards like a platinum trophy and stuff like that. So it's nice that in this game they've pulled back on that. They don't show up as frequently because they're not like super important, but they're still important enough that like I want to go do it. I'm still the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So yeah. And what else was I gonna say? Yeah, I'm really enjoying the game right now. I don't think my mind's gonna change, especially with how the story's going. I feel like I have hit the halfway point, or something like a halfway point. So I'm really interested in seeing how things are going to continue and then eventually wrap up. Like, of course, there's 1,000 things going on in my brain about what could possibly happen, but so far I've been really surprised at some of the twists and turns the story has taken, especially with the last mission I just played before starting and talking about the game here. It really was like a real wave of like emotions going up and down, so it's one of those games that's making me feel something, which is something you gotta say about it, because literal tears streaming down my face for a side mission usually doesn't happen. So it wasn't like a ton of it. Was like one tear out of each eye. Okay, I was sad. But yeah, very good. And like I was saying, I really wouldn't wait on this one. I understand $70 is a big ask for a game nowadays. If you don't have a PS5, obviously I understand you not being able to play it. Obviously, it's probably not going to be on PC until next year, honestly, or later. I understand not being able to, but if you have the means, you have a PS5, definitely just go for it, because you're going to get your money's worth super quickly. you're going to realize that the game is definitely worth like playing right away. And eventually down the road, when you get to talk to people about it, that'll also be nice too. So yeah, definitely, it's a 100% recommendation for me. 2 thumbs up. Definitely, it has taken over my life. I was playing Hellboy on like Wednesday, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I can't wait to finish this up. And then Thursday came around, and I was trying to finish up Hellboy, but then something else happened in the story for Hellboy, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this before Spider-Man gets out. Same thing kind of happened with, like, I bought Mario Wonder. I bought Sonic Superstars. I haven't even opened the packaging on either of those games because as soon as Spider-Man came out, nothing else matters at this point. So it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, it's yeah. It's an addiction right now. So I definitely would recommend picking it up and playing it, of course, as I've already said. And if you haven't yet, you know, it's fine. Like, I'm not gonna be mad at you. You know, I'm just saying, like, definitely get the ball rolling if you want to, because it's definitely worth your time, especially if you loved if you loved the original Spider-Man game, and if you really liked, you know, if you loved Miles Morales. I mean, yeah, it's an evolution of the gameplay. Obviously, it's a bit different, as I already described, but it's definitely worth your time, especially if you're invested in the other characters that this game involves. It's worth it. It's worth it. All right, that's the Spider-Man hour. I know it was only like 30 minutes, but still, that's the Spider-Man hour. That's the Spider-Man talk. Next week, I'm predicting that I'll be either done with the game. At least I'm predicting I'll be done with the story of the game. If not the story, then I'll be done with everything that I want to do. But we'll see when we get there, because, you know, we got a whole week in between us, and I do want to check out some of the other games that came out, but I might not do that until I finish up Spider-Man. So next week might be kind of the same thing, where it's like I'm talking mostly about Spider-Man. I got a couple other games to talk about, though. So let's go ahead and move on to the next part of the show, which is, what have I been playing this past week, other than Spider-Man? All right, for y'all, it's been like a couple seconds since I last talked, but for me, it's been about, I would say about almost 5 hours or so. But hey, the good news is that the Cleveland Browns won, and the movie was pretty good that I watched. So I'm kind of, I mean, just for the sake of, I guess no one really cares. Never mind. But yes, what have I been playing this past week before Spider-Man came out? I was playing a lot of Hellboy Web of Wyrd, which came out a few days before Spider-Man, and I knew that I was really only going to have room to play or try and complete one game this week before Spider-Man came out, and I was really trying to get Web of Wyrd done. I'm sure I'll get back to it once I finish Spider-Man, but as of right now, you know, Web of Wyrd is kind of an interesting one because it's a roguelite. You play as Hellboy, who really doesn't have any affiliation with DC or Marvel. He's kind of one of the biggest independent comic book characters out there. And they did a decent job of taking the art style from his comic books and putting them onto a video game. And it does some interesting things graphically, including like when you go to select which level you want to do, before you get inside the little, I guess it's like a dive bell that transports you to the Web of Wyrd. But the scene around you changes drastically, and it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, the graphic style inside of the Wyrd is also pretty neat. You know, it's a lot of floating platforms and stuff like that. And contrary to the, like, I guess, like, kind of demo of the game that people got to play, it's not just the one area with the same enemies. The enemies do change as you go through the game. So much so that by the time that you get to the actual third act of the game, the areas become deeper and deeper and have more difficult enemies. Right off the bat, I was having a super easy time with the game. Like, I kind of cruised through the prologue, Act 1, Act 2, and I was like, oh, damn, I feel like I'm kind of coming up on the end of the game. I beat the last boss in one go, but it was getting a bit more difficult. The enemies were getting a bit more tougher to fight, but, you know, in the end, I really didn't have too much issue. But then the game was like, oh, yeah, here's the real end game content. And even though it's gotten more difficult, the enemies who pop up are much more tanky and they have harder hitting abilities. I still don't feel like I'm like being challenged enough, I guess I would say. Like it's definitely more difficult, and I'm sure that the other levels that are progressively more difficult will be harder, but I still got through that first area on the rebound on the second time through with like the new stuff for Act 3. I mean, fairly easily. I mean, I was kind of riding on like 3 HP and a prayer for the ending stuff, but I wasn't feeling too stressed. And I maybe they decided to design the game that way because it is Hellboy. You know, people are gonna want to play it who maybe don't like roguelites too much or something like that. You know, maybe they decided to make it a bit easier to ease people into it. I don't know. But the main point of the game is to get through these. I don't know, get through these several pathways to reach the end where there's a boss. You defeat the boss and you calm down the chaotic energy coming out of the Wyrd, which is affecting the real world. And the main goal of the game is to kind of expel these demons or whatever, so that it goes away. But once Act 3 pops around, it's revealed that a certain faction has been festering in the Wyrd for quite some time, and they're the reason why the chaos is blooming again. And of course, I'm not going to give anything away. You may be able to think about it. If you know Hellboy, then you may be able to kind of know what it is just from me saying a few different things here. But it's one of those games that I'm enjoying. I think that it's pretty good. It's not really been a disappointment. It's been a bit samey. I feel like I'm using a lot of the same configurations for Hellboy. Like I've been using the grenade launcher with the move that freezes enemies and stuff like that. I guess I really haven't talked about any of that yet, but yeah, essentially the game is based on a health system with a kind of like an armor system. Your health doesn't regenerate unless you pick up a heart, which are pretty rare. But the shield you can get back by defeating enemies, and it does kind of regenerate as you walk through the different hallways of the Wyrd. So it's a bit of a, I guess, a dancing act of like, oh, do I want to? Sometimes you get these little upgrades. It's like, oh, do I want to upgrade how much armor I can have or how much health that I can have? I've been kind of leaning towards armor, seeing as it can be restocked, which has kind of helped me get through the areas. There's been once that I've chosen health just because I was really low, and then the next fight I did really terribly in, so it didn't even matter in the end. Although I did live through it, so I guess it did matter. But you know what I mean. It's one of those things. It's like, okay, if I had died, it wouldn't have really been that big of a deal because I was at like 2 health or whatever. And there's two different types of enemies in the game. There's the big boys who you gotta focus on, and there's the little guys who they usually go down in like 1 hit or 2. Some of the later enemies explode if you hit them. But the big guys are the ones that you want to focus on. And there is a focus button that you press down that zooms in on the big guys. You can't focus on the little guys. You can only focus on the big guys. And essentially, once you focus on something, you can do a combo, essentially. So you do like a couple right hooks and then a big hook with your hell hand or whatever it's called in the game. And of course, the enemies, they have their own attacks. Obviously, as you go through the game, there's different enemies who have different attacks, but they're all kind of like, okay, swing at me, do an unblockable, push me away with a move, stuff like that. So there is like a blocking system, and you can also parry things. But the parry, what it does is it fills up your like rage meter or something like that. And with that rage meter full, you can do like a super heavy attack. And essentially that'll drain the enemy's health. So their armor won't matter. You can just kind of punch them a bunch of times and it drains their health. Sometimes it's an insta-kill on like the lighter big enemies. But it does come in handy for the guys who have big health pools to whittle them down, not having to worry about their armor and stuff like that. And I usually save the super punch for like the more annoying big enemies. Like there's these dudes with shields in the first area that are really annoying. In the second area, there's these dudes who they're really quick and they're like these wolf type characters. In the third area, there's one that like shoots, I don't know, like poison at you. I usually like to take them down first, and then in the fourth area, there's this one that shoots bats at you, which can do tons of damage too. So I usually focus on the most annoying enemies first, and then take out the little ones. And once the other faction comes into play, it's kind of a grab bag. Whoever comes close to me is getting the beat down first, because all the enemies from the new faction in the game, the last faction in the game, are pretty brutal. They're pretty tough to take down. So as you go through the Wyrd, you'll get upgrades. It's just like any roguelite. Once you beat the boss and you exit the level, all your stuff gets reset. You lose your power-ups, and stuff like that. But there are like these little coins that you get throughout the course of the game that you can spend in the real world and buy things like a pistol, a shotgun, a grenade launcher, as I already mentioned. And then there's other equipable items. There's a shield. There's a knife that does damage. There's one that pushes enemies back. These little amulets, I guess you could call them. And then, of course, there's the overall, like, upgrade your health, upgrade your shield permanently, give you this move, give you that move. Like, there's also things that you upgrade permanently, kind of like, Hades or something like that. So all in all, I'm actually, I was having a pretty good time with it. I was expecting to finish it by the time I recorded this podcast, but I took a break. I guess I didn't really take a break on Thursday, but I didn't get around to playing it again on Thursday. So what ended up happening was I just started up Spider-Man 2 on Friday, and I haven't looked back, as you may or may not know. So I am playing, but I do plan on getting back to it and finishing it up after I'm done with Spider-Man. Right now, it's pretty much going to be Spider-Man head-on, honestly. So if you're expecting me to talk about anything else next week, it might happen if I finish Spider-Man soon enough, but I don't know. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. I don't know. I can't predict the future, but I can tell you that Web of Wyrd is definitely going to be buried because of the week that it came out in. That also included Sonic Superstars, Spider-Man 2, and Mario Wonder. So if you like roguelites and you like Hellboy, or you like the art style of Hellboy, or whatever, if something speaks to you about the game, it's definitely worth picking up. It's only like $25, and it's definitely a steal for what it is. I think that in general, it's a little bit easier. It's on the easier side of things, but as you progress through the game, obviously, it gets a little bit more difficult, which can give you a little bit of challenge if you are a seasoned veteran of roguelites. So yeah, the animations is great. The voice acting is pretty good, and yeah, I don't really have anything else to say other than maybe try it out if you want to check it out. I know that Spider-Man's and Mario Wonder are gonna be the hot topics of the week, but I really, I really do think that Web of Wyrd deserves a little bit of something, because it definitely deserves some notoriety. So I do give it a thumbs up. I would say, yeah, check it out. And there you go. If you want to check it out, make sure you do that. Other than that, I've been playing games on stream. We finished 2 games this past week. One of them was called Silt, which is like it's kind of like a Limbo-inspired game, but you're underwater in like this diver outfit, and you can possess fish and other sea creatures to help you out get through some puzzles. It's not the greatest thing ever. I was just kind of like, it's just kind of okay. It doesn't reach the heights that Limbo or Inside or any other games like that kind of do. I would even rate this one lower than Little Nightmares at this point, even though I wasn't a huge fan of that game. But yeah, Silt. It's just kind of like, okay, it's fine. It's like a C tier. It doesn't do anything super special, but it is unique enough to make me go, okay, that was worth playing at least. But I kind of got bored halfway through, and it didn't really get me back into it. But like I said, it was worth at least a single playthrough. It was worth the $10 that I paid for it at least. I think I bought it last year. I talked about it a little bit, but I didn't finish it. So yeah, it's fine. I don't have a lot to say about it. And then we also finished The Dark Side Detective, which is a point-and-click adventure game where you play as Officer McQueen, and his partner, Officer Dooley, and you just investigate paranormal happenings around the area. And it was a pretty fun kind of game. Once again, it didn't really do anything that like really wowed me. Like the puzzles weren't really that in depth or anything like that. I think I got stuck a couple times though, just because there were some obscure solutions for like a couple of the problems that you have throughout the game. I think I got stuck the most in the bonus levels, which I guess don't really count per se, but they do count because it was on stream, so you know. But all in all, I think it was definitely worth playing. It was better than Silt, but I would still probably put it. I'd probably put it like a B. Actually, it's probably like a B tier. I know the B tier is getting pretty full. I'm gonna have to extend the tier list when I do it next time. But yeah, I think it was good enough for like a B tier for a point and click game. It was fun. It had some funny dialogue in there. The bonus missions were definitely worth playing. And the main missions were pretty cool. I liked a couple of them, and even though a lot of the solutions were kind of basic, there was still some stuff in there that made me go, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. So, hats off to you, Dark Side Detective. And there is a sequel out right now. I haven't picked it up, but it is set up at the end of the game. So now I'm interested. I guess I have it on my wish list on Steam. So if it goes on sale, I will probably pick it up and play it next year. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next part of the show, which is what's in the news. All right, Doug Bowser and Nintendo, they're not ready to confirm that there will be a new Switch coming out in the near future, but he did say, Doug Bowser that is, that your Nintendo accounts are going to be utilized going forward to ease that transition process when it does eventually happen. Talking to an interviewer from Inverse, Doug Bowser said, well, first, I can't comment, or I won't comment, I should say, on the rumors that are out there. But one thing we've done with the Switch to help with the communication and transition is the formation of the Nintendo account. In the past, every device was transitioned and had a whole new account system. Creating the Nintendo account will allow us to communicate with our players if and when we make a transition to a new platform to ease that process of transition. Our goal is to minimize the dip you typically see in the last year of one cycle and the beginning of another. I can't speak to the possible features of a new platform, but the Nintendo account is a strong basis for having that communication as we make the transition. So, I mean, obviously, they're just kind of getting up to speed with the other consoles out there. You know, switching from the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One to the Series S or X is pretty easy. Switching from a PlayStation 3 to a 4 to a 5, pretty easy because of account migration. Pretty much all the games you have switch over. Switch over to the newer accounts. So it would make sense for them to keep that with the Switch. The Switch is such a huge platform. It has the most users of any current gen console. So people are going to want to keep their games. They're going to want to play their games on whatever the next system is, especially if they're digital. As I already stated, I think that we will be seeing a reveal for the system sometime later this year. But I also said that if it doesn't have backwards compatibility, that would be a big L on their part. It's not that hard to swap, port over, maybe not even port over, but just have Switch games play on whatever new device they're going to have. And I also stated that they should include either a Switch dock attached to, if it's a console that doesn't move, they should integrate a Switch dock into it somehow. That would be great. Or they can just put a slot for Switch games. It's one of those things that's like, it should be pretty easy to do that. But as you may or may not know, Nintendo has not been super smart on their transitions. Just look at the N64 to the GameCube. There was no way to play an N64 game on a GameCube. But then they fixed that when the GameCube went over to the Wii for the first iteration. And then when the Wii came into the Wii U, they fixed that. So hopefully when the Wii U went to the Switch, they went backwards again. But hopefully, since it seems to be every two, the Switch and whatever the next iteration of Nintendo's console is going to be called, we'll be able to switch over all our games and be able to play our physical Switch media on the new system as well, whether it be through a dock system or through just inserting a cartridge into it. But as we know from right now, it seems like our Nintendo account will switch over, which hopefully means that all of the digital content that people have bought will work on the new console as well. But we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of the Nintendo Switch, the Switch version of RoboCop Rogue City has apparently been canceled on the Switch. Someone reached out to the people behind the social media account for the Rogue City game, and they were asking about a update on like a Switch version or something like that. And the person who replied said, "At the moment, we don't have any plans for Nintendo Switch release." No reason was given for the cancellation, so it's unclear whether the developer just axed the game entirely just because they weren't willing to work with the Switch, or maybe they're holding off for the next Switch. It's hard to say, but it looks like the Switch version is either indefinitely delayed or has been canned completely. The rest of the systems, PlayStation 5, Xbox, PC, it's coming out November 2nd. So that's still coming around for those systems, but as of right now, no Nintendo Switch version is going to be available. I believe originally when they showed it off, I believe there was Nintendo Switch on the original release trailer, but I can't know for sure because I'm not going to look it back up. But we'll see. I mean, it doesn't seem like a game that shouldn't run on Switch, but then again, we've had some stinkers come out for the Switch that have not been optimized, so maybe it's better this way. Bethesda's longtime publishing head, Pete Hines, is leaving the company. He will be leaving sometime this year. But Pete Hines, he was behind the launch of Starfield and many other games for the past 24 years at the company. On Twitter, he posted a pretty big, lengthy letter that says, "After 24 years, I've decided my time at Bethesda Softworks has come to an end. I am retiring and will begin a new exciting chapter in my life, exploring interests and passions, donating my time where I can, and taking more time to enjoy life. This is not a decision I came to easily or quickly, but after an amazing career, culminating in the incredible launch of Starfield, it feels like the time is right. This is certainly not goodbye by any means. My love for Bethesda and its people has never wavered, and I will never stop being part of this incredible community we have grown. Thank you to the hundreds and thousands of fans we've gotten to meet and talk to over the last 24 years. Your energy, creativity, and support have been such a big part of my journey. I look forward to experiencing the next part of my adventure alongside you." So he says that he retired, but it seems like he still wants to be a part of maybe something Bethesda related, or maybe a different company, maybe starting up another company. Maybe he's just saying that he's retiring from being the head of the publishing division at Bethesda. Who knows? I don't even know if they really need him anymore, seeing as Xbox publishes their games now. But that being said, he's had a pretty lengthy career in Bethesda, and we'll see what he does next. But as of right now, adios, amigo. Speaking of Xbox, Phil Spencer says that there will be no early content or restricted content for Call of Duty. That means that if you're on PlayStation, PC, or Switch, all the stuff will come out the same day as the Xbox stuff. Now, they said eventually Nintendo, meaning that I don't believe Modern Warfare 3 will be coming to Switch anytime soon. I'm guessing that the next iteration of Call of Duty that will be fully funded under Xbox's banner will adhere to the bargain that they took to put Call of Duty on every single console. But he said in a statement that for Call of Duty players on PlayStation and in the near future Nintendo, I want you to feel 100% a part of the community. I don't want you to feel like there's content you're missing out on, there's skins you're missing out there, or timing you're missing out on. That's not the goal. I want the Call of Duty Nation to feel supported across all platforms. We've been on the other side of some of those skins and times. Even the beta wasn't on Xbox the first week. I just don't think that helps the community. I don't think that helps the game, he said. Which, I mean, it's hard to disagree. I think that exclusive content on either platform, any platform really, especially for a game like Call of Duty that's been cross-platform for many, many years. I understand PlayStation spent a lot of money to get the rights to get stuff early, 2 weeks early sometimes. In the past, it was Xbox who had that, and then it was PlayStation who bought up the the bargain with Activision to get their stuff early, and now it's back in Xbox's hand. But they're saying, "Oh, we're gonna be the bigger dude here, and we're going to just release all the content for everyone." So that's good guy Phil Spencer for you. We'll see if they hold up on that, but only time will tell. And the last thing in Xbox news, the former Xbox Game Pass title and one of the first games that came out on the Series X and S, called Second Extinction, has been officially taken down. The game originally released in early access back in 2020, and then it had a full release in April of 2021. But now the game is shutting down. In a statement, they said, while Second Extinction is well loved among our players and gaming community, it regrettably did not achieve the success we hoped it would. Additionally, some unforeseen show-stopping issues prevented us from leaving early access and game preview. As you may recall, we initially planned to launch the 1.0 version late last year, but the discovery of a few critical issues forced us to pull back close to the release. Unfortunately, it became clear that our small team lacked the resources necessary to hit our quantity targets and exit early access and game preview, and the investment needed to do so was too large for us to bear. After evaluating our options and working during this year to find other potential solutions, this became the reality our team had to face. So, I guess it didn't fully release. It was made available on Xbox in April 2021, and it was included in Game Pass. Okay, I read that wrong before. So, yeah, essentially they're going to be permanently delisting the game from Xbox. It'll be unable to buy, and even if you do re-download it, I believe it's an online-only game, so there's really nothing more to say there. They also said that they've come a long way with a list of things that worked incredibly well and things that we need to avoid for future projects. One thing is for certain, while Second Extinction may be coming to a close, our commitment to crafty, memorable moments that capture the magic of gaming will never fade. So, yeah, I mean, it's sad to see stuff like this happen, but I guess it's one of those things that's like, I don't know. I don't even know at this point. It's one of those things that's like, okay, maybe it just wasn't the right time, or maybe it just wasn't the right game to make it big. I mean, it looked cool back when they showed it off. I mean, there's some cool stuff here. Who doesn't like taking a shotgun out and blasting rampaging dinosaurs? I don't know. But it didn't seem to be, I guess it's just it wasn't the right game for the right time. And plus with what's it called already out there? I'm blinking on the name right now. I'll probably remember it while listening back to this. Ark or whatever it's called. With that being so successful, another dinosaur hunting game, I guess there really wasn't room for it. And I think it left Xbox Game Pass recently, which of course because it's shutting down. So never mind. That doesn't really matter. All right, Alan Wake 2 is confirmed to be getting some DLC after the game comes out. Post-launch content. There will be some free DLC, and there will also be some paid DLC projects as well. Thanks to an interview with, what's his name? With someone from Sam Lake from Remedy Entertainment. He said that the post-launch fun is going to be coming with free DLC starting off. He said we do have free DLC drops coming, and they are pretty significant. I'm expecting us to be going more into detail pretty soon after the game is out, but all will be free for everyone who gets the game. So I'm guessing he's just talking about the opening DLC. They clarified later about the paid DLC later on, but hey, it's nice that if you're getting the game early, you're getting some free stuff early on. And the game is still going to be releasing October 27th this coming week, and it will still be an digital-only release. So if you're expecting a physical version, might never be coming. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for this. I mean, it looks really good from the previews that we've seen. Lots of FMV mixed in with actual gameplay and stuff like that. So they definitely have put a lot of work into this game. Hopefully, once it launches, everything will run smoothly. Which I mean, why not? I mean, I don't expect the game to be shit. I never expect a game to be shit unless it's like, I don't know, Lord of the Rings Gollum or that King Kong game that came out. But yeah, should be exciting. That's coming around. So if you're planning on purchasing the game, like I said, October 27th is your day. Dragon Force has released a single in tribute to The Legend of Zelda. Thank you to Kenobi for posting this in the Discord. It was a pretty fun song to listen to. Obviously, Dragon Force is known for their fast and powerful ballads and hard-hitting songs. They, of course, had Through the Fire and Flames pop off when it came to Guitar Hero, and eventually it came to Rock Band through DLC. But the band's new album called Warp Speed Warriors is going to come out on March 15th, 2024, but they released Power of the Triforce as a single based on The Legend of Zelda. Much like the band's previous efforts, Power of the Triforce is a fast-paced symphony of power metal, which has some pretty crazy lyrics crammed in with Nintendo references. It's, of course, the music video is also worth watching as well. So if you want to check that out, definitely do that. Dragon Force has also released Symphony of the Night, which is a single that references Castlevania, and The Last Dragonborn, which was inspired by the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. If you want to check any of those out, they are out right now. Pretty cool. And finally, for the news today, Phasmophobia's console release has been delayed indefinitely on PS5. Essentially, the initial date for the game was pushed back to October, and then the fire incident happened, and now it's been delayed indefinitely. The studio says that the combination of the fire, unforeseen challenges, and adapting to the working from home have led to the latest delay, which has affected the development timeline. The game is coming to PS5 and PSVR 2 with full support, so the decision, though time-consuming for the team, it's essential to provide the best possible gameplay experience. So right now they don't have a release date for the game just yet. It's just kind of gonna be in limbo for a little while. But if you're excited for the game, it's still coming. You know, they haven't canceled it entirely, but you'll have to wait a little bit longer for it to come to PlayStation. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the final part of the show, which is what's coming soon. All right, The Lord of the Rings Return to Moria has a release date for the PS5, Xbox, and whatever. So the game has been delayed to the 5th of December 2023. Not too long of a delay, but still a pretty significant one. Apparently this is only affecting the PlayStation 5 version of the game. That'll be launched physically and digitally on December 5th. They're taking additional time to improve various aspects of the PS5 version and ensure that they can deliver the highest possible quality for PlayStation gamers. Of course, they apologize for the delay, so hopefully this means that when it comes out, it will be good to go. But yeah, I mean, you know, the game is going to be like an online co-op game. It's going to be like a crafting, maybe some tower defense built in there somewhere, or defense missions built in there, because you are trying to reclaim Moria from the goblins, so I guess we'll see what happens. Apparently, Gimli is going to be in the game, famously from The Lord of the Rings, and also the actor who portrayed Gimli in Peter Jackson's film adaptation, John Rhys Davies, is going to reprise his role. And he said about his nostalgic homecoming, actors often create characters out of love, and it's very hard sometimes to let them go. Certainly, Gimli is, for me, a character that I really adore, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to reprise him in a different context. And luckily for him, since he's allergic to like the makeup they had to use, he doesn't have to go into full Gimli garb, so that'll be good for him. So I guess apparently Lord Gimli Lockbearer summons the players to Moria to reclaim it. So that's pretty cool. Good little bit of lore right there. So yeah, if you're planning on getting the game, that's coming out in December. And yeah, if you're excited, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, it'll be nice to hear John Rhys Davies reprise his role. All right, Silent Hill Ascension, which is it's like an interactive TV series. I believe it's coming to, I think it's coming to Netflix, right? Or maybe not. It's coming to the PlayStation mobile app, browser, or PlayStation mobile app. Okay, interesting. This is a take on Silent Hill, of course. Essentially, you play as there's like two different characters, or two different parts of this game. Essentially, your choices and actions by millions will shape the story to determine the final outcome. So essentially, what you do is throughout the series, I guess you choose different actions, and whatever is most popular becomes the new. I don't know what happens, I guess. So in a little blurb, it says the Hernandez family in a fading Rust Belt town of Pennsylvania and the Johnsons, residents of a lonely fishing village in Norway, have grief in common. Both families recently suffered loss under mysterious circumstances, and throughout the season, we will need to overcome a sadistic cult and their own worst impulses to survive and uncover the horror that links them. So this is coming October 31st, so Halloween. So if you want to check that out, it will be premiering on Sony Pictures Core app on the PS5. You can also access it through a browser or a PlayStation mobile app. So there you go. System Shock 2 Enhanced Edition has been confirmed to be coming to the PS5, Xbox, and maybe even Switch. I didn't see that in the trailer, but possibly Switch. This is not a remaster like the System Shock that just came out, but this is just like a port for next generation consoles, essentially. Maybe an HD up-res, something like that. If you know what System Shock 2 is, or System Shock is in general, you kind of understand what you're looking at. Rogue AI takes over a ship or something like that, and you have to fight your way through it. But this will be coming. It was supposed to be coming this year. I believe it already came to the PC, but it's supposed to be coming to other platforms later this year, which has to be sometime soon. Probably sometime in October, honestly, but I guess we'll wait and see. Roller Coaster Tycoon Adventures Deluxe is coming to consoles on the 1st of November. This was a phone game that is being ported over to consoles, so don't get too excited, like I was when I originally saw the name of this, but then you realize very quickly that something's kind of shady about this game. It looks like absolute complete shit. Because all the love and all the love has been sucked out of the Roller Coaster Tycoon series since Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, really. Anything that came out afterwards has just been a cash grab or money grab. I remember Roller Coaster Tycoon 4 was one of my least favorite things ever. When that came out, it was a phone app that you used real world money to buy currency, to buy rides and stuff like that. It was just really awful. And then there was that Roller Coaster Tycoon World game, which was, I mean, compared to other simulation games where you are building a theme park like Thrillville or Coaster something, it paled in comparison to those. And this looks like it's just going to be just as bad as Roller Coaster Tycoon 4, except it's a port of a mobile game on a console, so it's going to be probably even worse. I mean, just nitpicking the trailer a little bit, I mean, there's some things that like just make no sense for the tracks to be doing. There's one point where a roller coaster flips the side of track it's on randomly, and they left that in the trailer for some reason. This looks like it's going to be complete and utter garbage. Don't waste your money on it. But it is coming November 1st if you want to put yourself through the pain of playing a terrible Roller Coaster Tycoon game. Look, the original games, even 3, are on other storefronts like Steam and Epic Game Store. You don't need to play these shitty, loveless, lifeless, fucking bullshit things that are coming from Atari. Obviously, the original creator of Roller Coaster Tycoon has no part in this, and the best games are Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2, the ones that he was a part of, the ones that he made with a small group of people. After Atari bought the rights and took over, it started to go downhill from there. Even though Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 is not bad, it definitely fails in comparison to 2 and 1 in a lot of ways. And anything that's come out after 3 has just been utter garbage. Maybe not utter garbage, but mostly garbage. And this looks to be right in line with the garbage tier game. So I'm not excited for this. I'm probably not going to get it. And you should be the same thing too. Don't get this. It looks awful. It actually looks terrible. All right, let's get to something more positive. All right, far out, bro. Dead Space Remake is coming to EA Play later this month. You'll be able to play it with no extra cost if you have the EA Play service. That'll be available on the 26th of October. just in time for Halloween. And Dead Space Remake is one of the few games this year that has gotten a 5 out of 5 from me. It's definitely worth playing. There's actually a mod on Steam that I was looking at that allows you to play the game in first person, which obviously is a whole different type of experience. But I never did finish my New Game Plus playthrough. I wanted to collect all the little idols to get the secret ending. So I'll probably finish that up sometime. But yeah, the game is beautiful. It's just a really great recreation of the original Dead Space experience, but it feels more like a full experience with hardly any loading screens and a ship that you can pretty much traverse from one side to the other, which you could not do in the original game. So really cool. Really enjoy that I'm happy that they're bringing this over to EA Play. So if you have that service, I believe also if you have Xbox Game Pass, you can use EA Play. So if you have Xbox Game Pass, you can also play this game pretty much for no extra cost too. So that's a win-win right there. Check that out if you want to. A game called Watermelon Game, or Suka Game in Japan, has got a surprise local release on the Switch eShop, so both European and North American Switch players can now download the cutesy watermelon puzzle game, or fruit puzzle game, I guess you could say, for $3 and a file size of 189 megabytes. This game has you prevent fruits from overflowing a box. Collide the same kind of fruit, which I guess will make a mega fruit or something like that. It'll change. Wait, no. As you collide fruits, their types change. Yeah, this is definitely translated from Japanese. Let me read this verbatim. To prevent the fruits from overflowing from the box, collide the same kind of fruit. As you collide fruits, their types change. Let's create big watermelons. This game is where you combine two small fruits to make them larger and create big watermelons. If that sounds interesting to you, here you go. I mean, for a couple bucks, I'm sure it'll be fine. Apparently, a lot of people are creating Japanese or Japan Nintendo accounts in order to play this game. So I guess there's something special about it. But yeah, whatever. Also, another Switch game news, F-099 is doing its last update, apparently. The final new tracks, I guess you could say. It's added a new King League and 3 more tracks to the game. This is the latest update for the game. I believe it already is available. So this will be the final new tracks, although additional updates will be released in the future. They made sure to say that, yeah, there's still going to be updates for the game, but these are the last few tracks that are being added to the game in general. So you can challenge the Mighty King League in Grand Prix mode, and then, of course, there's 3 new courses, including, what is it? Firefield? What's the other maps? Mute City 3, Red Canyon 2, and Firefield. And those are available to play right now. So if you want to check those out, it's all available right now, and we'll see what else gets added to the game in the future. Alright, I talked about The Walking Dead Destinies a little while ago. Kind of looked like crap. But they released a new trailer for the game and an announcement of when the game is coming out across the platforms, all platforms, on November 17th. And you can get a physical edition the following month in December. So the brand new trailer, which is on YouTube, of course, it says that it'll be coming November 17th. It's based on the first 4 seasons of the TV show. Destiny will take place across iconic locations from the Walking Dead universe, including Atlanta, the Green Family Farm, the prison, and Woodbury. You'll need to make key decisions throughout the game, and you can change the course of the franchise history, like how you can either have Rick or Shane killed. And it appears that you can also have T-Dog or Merle show up in the game instead of Merle. So kind of interesting. They also, they showed off a bit of like some of the gameplay, I guess. It seems like some of it's going to be like a third-person shooter or something like that, because there was a flash or two of the characters firing guns at walkers. So, yeah, I don't know. Let's read a little bit about the key features. Shatter Fate, alter the story of The Walking Dead by weaving your own path. Slash, bash, and shoot the undead. Slay hordes of walkers in third-person action with a variety of melee and ranged weapons, including bats, katanas, revolvers, shotguns, and crossbows. Build your own dream team. Assemble your roster from over 12 iconic characters from The Walking Dead, including Rick, Shane, Michonne, Carol, Daryl, and more. Survive the apocalypse. Manage limited resources, scavenge your weapons and ammo, maximize your party's abilities to stay alive, and then defend your camp, rescue survivors, and fight through stealth. Fight through stealth in all-out combat. And you get one last chance at survival in a broken state before the walker threat overwhelms you. So, I mean, I'm not like super jazzed. Like, I'm not throwing up the jazz hands for the Walking Dead Destinies. But I will say that I only really cared about the Walking Dead up until like season 5 or something like that. So I guess maybe there's a little inkling in me that's like, oh, you should probably pick this up. It might be kind of cool. But then again, it also kind of doesn't look that great from what we've seen. But then again, it could be a funny meme to play it on stream or something like that. I don't know. I guess we'll wait to see how much the game is going to cost, because if it's like a $60 game, I'm probably not going to pick it up. But if it's like like $30 or $40, hey, maybe I'll throw him a bone. Maybe. But don't wait up for me. All right, it seems like the Hogwarts Legacy version, Switch version, is not actually canceled, as I thought that it was. They actually reconfirmed that it will be coming out, and it's going to be coming out next month on the 14th of November. They actually even had a video ready and queued up for the Switch version. Obviously, things look a little bit more doughy than the PS5 and Xbox versions, but that's to be expected on the Nintendo Switch. You can digitally pre-order it right now. I believe the physical version is just a code inside of a box, so maybe don't get that. You'll also receive a bonus Onyx Hippogriff, whatever that is. And there's also a special Dark Arts DLC pack coming soon to the game as well. So if you want to get that pre-order bonus, then you can pre-order right now, or you can wait until the game releases on the 14th of November. Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl 2 has been hit with a minor delay, but it's not so far back that I would put it in the news section, because it's being sent back from the 7th of November to the 1st of December. Actually, apparently it was originally supposed to come out on the 3rd of November, but now the digital version is coming out the 7th of November, and the physical version is coming the 1st of December. Why they got to word things so weirdly? Maybe I'm just dumb. The delay was, of course, announced on the Twitter account for the game. It essentially just says our release date is moving slightly as the team touches up Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. The digital version is coming November 7th. The retail version is coming December 1st. As a special bonus, though, Patrick's elastic waistband costume will be available to all digital purchases made during the first week of launch from November 7th through the 14th. How nice of them. So, there you go. What do you want me to say? Looks, for a fighting game based on Smash Brothers, it doesn't look that bad. And Nickelodeon All-Stars 1 wasn't really that bad either, but it was lacking some of those things that you really want in a fighting game, especially something like Smash Brothers. You want a story mode, you want something, especially voice acting, which wasn't originally in the first game, but it seems like they've corrected a lot of things for All-Star Brawl 2. They have a story mode, they have full voice acting from the get-go, they have all the original characters coming back, including the DLC characters for the first game, and they have some new characters who are also coming as well, so should be a pretty fun time. I'll probably pick it up eventually, but maybe not right away. And finally for today, we have what games are leaving PlayStation Plus Extra. So it's just a couple of games here. We have Ace of Seafood, Connect Tank, Dandara Trials of Fear Edition, Gianna Sisters Twisted Dreams Director's Cut, Momodora, Riviera Under the Moonlight, My Time in Portia, and Wild Guns Reloaded are all leaving the service on the 21st of November. So if you want to check those games out, there might be more added to the list, and of course I'll update y'all when that comes around. But if any of those games catch your eye, or maybe we're on your list of games to play from the service, then you may want to check that out sooner rather than later. I believe Ace of Seafood is the one that that's like a first-person shooter fish game or something like that. I think Callus has played it. But yeah, if you want to check that out, boom, bada, bing. Any of those games, check them out before November comes around. All right, let's go ahead and move on to everyone's favorite part of the show, which is Guess That Song. Last week's song was from Bugsnax, and yes, Bugsnax is a horror game. If you played the game, you know. If you haven't played the game, play the game. Bugsnax is amazing. It's on all platforms, including Steam, so you have no reason not to check it out. But yeah, congratulations to Greedy Waffles who got that. The song was what was it called? Sunrise over Snacktooth Island. Yes, one of my. Yeah, I love the soundtrack for Bugsnax. It's a great soundtrack. You should listen to it. And play the game. Play the game more more so. Play the game. All right. Anyway, let's listen to this week's song starting right now. Alright, if you know what that song name is, make sure you comment it in the latest episode of the podcast, or the podcast you're listening to right now. If you're listening to this on YouTube, make sure you comment the name and the game that it's from, and I will give you a heart and a comment saying congratulations. Or if you want to swing by the Discord, the Ferret Nation Discord, links in all my social medias on YouTube, I guess. You can also comment in the Ferret 64 section, and I will give you a super reaction on Discord. So just a reminder, the games that are the songs are based on are horror games. So that's a bit of a hint there. This is what is this? This isn't the final week, is it? It is. No, it's not the final week for horror themed songs. We have one more week to go. October is flying by, folks. Right now we are streaming on Twitch Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, playing spooky games. Right now we're working on Days Gone, which I'm hoping doesn't take us to the end of it, but it might. It is a bit of a longer game. And then after October, we start up Bunger Month, which is the month where anyone in the Discord can suggest a game from my backlog, and I will play it. Whether I finish it or not is, of course, up to me, but I will try or at least try to get to every game that's in the list. If you want to check out anything else I do, it's all at YemmytheFerret, whether it be on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, etc. I also have a VODs channel called YemmytheFerret VODs, where I upload all past streams. Currently, I just uploaded the Last of Us Part 1 playthrough. Silt and The Dark Side Detective will be coming soon to a VOD channel near you. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. I am YemmytheFerret. I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye. The Ferret 64 podcast is owned and edited by YemmytheFerret. The song Nightshade, used in the intro and outro, is owned by Adhesive Wombat. Small sound clips during the podcast were made by YemmytheFerret. News sources include NintendoLife.com, PushSquare.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions video game related are my own. Thank you for listening.